All right, let's dive into this O Tempo e O Vento, or Time in the Wind, I guess, for us English speakers. You guys gave us a ton on this Cambará
It's
family.
a lot, yeah.
Really is, yeah. Generations of, looks like Brazilian history here.
It's really remarkable. Like, it's more than just a family story. Verissimo uses them, the Cambarás, to show us how an entire nation comes to terms with, well, its past, and how it creates, like, a new sense of itself.
Yeah, and we got a lot here. We got excerpts from the novel itself, and then like some historical background on, uh, Brazil at the time and what critics have been saying about it. So a lot to go through. Um, but this Licurgo Cambará, the patriarch, I mean, he seems
Oh,
like,
he's fascinating, yeah.
yeah,
What Verissimo does is he uses these little details, right, to show how contradictory Licurgo is. I mean, he's this respected figure, right? But his past, it's like shrouded in mystery.
okay, yeah.
And the relationships with his sons, especially Rodrigo, I mean, talk about tension.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. And Rodrigo himself, I mean, doctor, intellectual, but still so tied to like his family and their land.
It's like he's torn between the old world and everything changing around him in Brazil.
Yeah, yeah.
Verissimo actually uses Rodrigo being a doctor as this metaphor for like his political indecision. He can heal physical wounds, but when it comes to the revolution, he can't like pick a side.
Wow.
Right, almost like he's trying to, I don't know, fix society through being a doctor.
That's a good point, yeah. And then, you got this Romeo and Juliet thing going on with Tony Weber, too.
Oh yeah, forbidden love, challenging all those social norms.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Verissimo is using this tragic romance to get at this bigger question of choice. How free are we really to choose our own path, especially
No.
during such crazy times?
Yeah, like how much is us and how much is just like, well, the world we're in.
Right. Exactly. And this struggle isn't just like Rodrigo's thing. I mean, his son Floriano, he deals with the same stuff. This pull between like what you're supposed to do and what you want. Floriano, he's drawn to art and literature.
Yeah.
Not exactly. Like the typical tough Cambará man.
Yeah, that's
This like Floriano represents this new Brazil, a Brazil that's all about creativity and ideas,
Yeah.
right?
Interesting.
It's tough for him, though. His own father thinks all that stuff is, like, meaningless.
And he goes to Europe, right?
Oh, yeah. And that's a turning point for him, exposed to all these new ideas, ends up, questioning his family, his father, everything. It's like he comes back a different person, almost.
Oh. And it's not just family stuff, right? There's a whole revolution going on.
Oh, yeah. Full-blown revolution.
Yeah.
Verissimo puts us right in the middle of it, too. Battles, betrayals, the whole thing.
Yeah. And these Madrugas, I mean,
Oh, they were a force, for sure.
Yeah.
Pushing for radical change, threaten the whole way things were.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about how these historical events affect real people.
yeah, it's not just something you read in a book.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, while all the men are off fighting this revolution, it's the women who got to hold everything together.
Right, right.
Flora, Rodrigo's wife, she's like a rock, dealing with Rodrigo's, choices, trying to keep things normal.
Yeah.
It makes you think if all that strength is her own way of like rebelling.
Mm.
I mean, she's holding the family together, but she's also the one dealing with like all the fallout from what the men do.
Right, right.
It's complicated. It's like she's stuck but strong at the same time.
And Verissimo is using all these like individual stories to show us this whole society that's like transforming itself.
Yeah, tradition versus progress, wanting
Right.
to be free, but like also having all these expectations from family, from society, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and this is just the beginning. There's so much more to talk about. But what stands out to you so far?
Well, I'm really struck by how Verissimo brings together the personal stuff with the political. I mean, the Cambarás, their struggles are like Brazil's struggles, It reminds you that even these big historical things, it's really like about people.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's those personal stories that help us like connect with the past,
Yeah.
Like we see ourselves in their choices and their struggles.
And I think we should all take a minute to think about all this. It's quite a bit. We'll be back to talk more about the Cambarás and see how their story goes. All right, so we're back. And I'm still kind of blown away by how Verissimo takes his one family and makes him like represent all of Brazil.
He's good, right?
Yeah.
And he uses some like really smart tricks to do it. Remember the sobrado?
Oh, the house.
Yeah, their big old house. It's not just like a place.
Yeah.
It's like symbolic.
Oh, for sure. Like old Brazil. All
Yeah.
those traditions,
Yeah.
But then you see it starting to like fall apart.
Exactly.
Like that part where Rodrigo sees the paint peeling and Like the walls are crumbling.
Oh. It's like it's mirroring what's happening outside, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. To Le Coeur, it's, you know, stability,
Right.
legacy, everything he's built his life on.
Right.
But for like the younger generation, it feels like, I don't know, holding them back, like
Yeah.
Floriano.
Oh, yeah, Floriano. It's like night and day after he comes back from Europe.
Right. Shy kid to like challenging his dad on everything. It's like Europe gave him this new way of seeing things.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And especially the inequalities back home in Brazil, he comes back like wanting to make a real difference.
Makes you wonder if it was the art and literature that, like, made him more understanding.
Could be.
Right? Like, you see things from different perspectives when you...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like all that sensitivity that people saw as like a weakness
Right.
becomes like his superpower.
And then you got his brother, Toribio.
Total opposite.
Yeah, total opposite. The gaucho, the man of action.
Always ready for a fight.
Yeah. But he was, like, so loyal to his family.
Even when he disagreed with them.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah. It's like he represents...
Old Brazil, but a different side.
yeah.
That courage, you know, like you had to be tough to survive out there in the Rio Grande do Sul.
Right, right. But it's also, like, maybe a little dangerous to be that loyal.
Especially to his father.
Yeah, with some of the stuff his father was doing, yeah. And Verissimo does a good job of not making anyone, like, all good or all bad.
Oh, yeah. Very complex characters. That's
Yeah.
what makes them feel real, you know?
Yeah.
Like we all have those internal struggles, right?
And then this revolution just, like, throws everything into chaos.
Oh,
It's not just some faraway thing either.
It's right there.
Yeah. Real fear, real loss.
Remember that scene where Rodrigo just breaks down after his daughter dies?
Oh, man, that was rough.
Like all the war, the fear, it just like overwhelms him.
Yeah.
Everyone deals with it differently too.
Yeah. Yeah, Flora, she's just, like, focused on keeping busy.
Practical stuff.
Right, but Rodrigo's all emotional.
There's no right way to deal with that kind of stuff.
But it's not all, like, doom and gloom, though, right?
I know.
I mean,
there's some funny parts too.
Yeah, like the Christmas scene with little Idu and Papa Noel.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Little Edu headbutting Santa.
Right.
I mean, even with everything going on, life goes on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kids still laugh. Families still come together.
And it makes it all, like, even more meaningful.
Yeah.
Like, Verissimo is saying, hey, life's messy, but it's also beautiful.
And the way he describes the landscape and the people.
Oh, so vivid.
It's like you're right there in Brazil.
It's not just description, though.
No.
It helps you understand the characters.
Oh, for sure.
Like, you can't really get Rodrigo's connection to the land without, like, feeling the vastness of the pampas.
That's a good point, yeah. And it makes you think about how important it is to, like, understand the context of the story.
Oh, definitely.
We can't judge these characters by, like, our standards today, right?
No.
We got to understand their world to get their choices.
Exactly.
It reminds us that history isn't just dates and names.
It's real people.
Real people, real choices.
Yeah.
That's why this deep dive is so cool.
It's about understanding the past, not, like, judging it.
Exactly.
And seeing how, like, their stories are still relevant to us today. Yeah, so, like, we're looking back in time.
And learning about ourselves.
Exactly. And that's, like, the power of a great story.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes you think.
So, as we get toward the end of this novel, what are you most interested in seeing?
I think, like, what happens to the Cambarás after all this? What do they leave behind?
Yeah.
Their legacy.
Yeah, good point.
How do their experiences shape the next generations?
Yeah.
And how does their story, like, continue to affect Brazil?
That's that's where Verissimo really shines, I think.
I think so, too. It's bigger than just one family.
Right.
It's about how, like, their choices echo through time.
Right. Well, I think we should take a minute to think about this, then get to those final chapters.
That's good.
All right, so we're back and ready for those last chapters. Verissimo is really making us think about legacy here, huh?
It is interesting how, like, throughout the book, you see each character kind of wrestling with, like, what they're leaving behind.
Right.
Like Kurgo, he was all about the land, you know, building something real to pass down. But, I mean, we've seen that even the strongest things can crumble, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's where I think it becomes more about the stuff you can't see, like the values and stories and, I don't know, the impact you have on people.
Exactly. And Rodrigo, I mean, he had his problems, but he did give his kids this sense of justice, this, like, willingness to fight for what they believe in, even if it means going against everyone else.
Yeah. And Floriano rejecting everything his father stood for and becoming a writer. It's like the ultimate rebellion, right?
Yeah.
To create something, to see things that others don't, and then, like, to tell those stories.
It's like he's building something, but with words, not with land or money.
Yeah.
And through writing, he can explore all these like complex issues in Brazil, give a voice to people who, don't have one.
Right. And Toribio, he's got that untamed spirit.
Right.
Yeah, that raw strength.
Loyal to a fault, almost.
Mm.
But Verissimo showing us that even strength can be, like, used in the wrong way.
Especially if you're just blindly following someone else.
Exactly.
And that makes you think, what about their kids? Like, what will they inherit from all this?
It's not just about the men, though, right?
Oh, no.
Flora and Maria Valeria, they represent something else entirely. Resilience, quiet strength, holding the family together through all that chaos.
Yeah. They might not be fighting revolutions or writing books, but they're doing something just as important.
Keeping the family going, raising the next generation. And it's in those little moments, the everyday stuff, where you see, like, the real heart of the Cambará family. Music, storytelling, all those, quirky traditions. That's what connects them, what gets passed down.
Yeah, yeah. It reminds us that history is more than just, like, big events and famous people. Right? It's also about regular people, the good times and bad times, and those little traditions that shape who we are.
And Verissimo shows us how all those individual stories become part of, like, the bigger story of Brazil.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you hope our listener takes away from all this?
Well, I think it's that the past isn't really over, It's still with us in the stories we tell, the things we believe in, the choices we make. And when we explore history, when we, like, really try to understand the people who came before us, we learn more about ourselves and the world we live in today.
I love that. O Tempo e o Vento is more than just a history book, It's about, like, what it means to be human, a story that everyone can relate to. And through the Cambarás, we see how our choices, even the small ones, can have a lasting impact.
It really makes you think about the legacy you're creating, right? Not just the big things, but those everyday moments, too.
And that's it for our deep dive into O Tempo e o Vento. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey.
Yeah, it's been fun.
We hope you keep thinking about all this and connect it to your own life. And until next time, happy reading. And keep those deep dives coming.